We show now how to proceed to raking light photography. In raking light we just need to have one source of light from one direction. So we choose the left, the right, or we can actually take both the images, first from the left and then, for example, from the right. In this case, let's start with the right. So we turn off one of the lamp and we move one lamp on the side. So the final position of the lamp, basically already with our naked eye we can look at the image and we see which one is the best angle in order to see more of the features of the object, which depends to what kind of object we have. So for example, in this case the object, this icon, is a little bit curved, so there is no way to have a perfect illumination of the surface. One area on the left gets a lot of light, the other area is pretty dark. Okay, so this position is nice, so we can go here on the computer and we start to acquire the image. We turn on the software to connect the camera, remember Digicam control. The camera has been recognized, is over here, so we can go directly on live view and we see already the image. We can magnify. Remember, the focus will be the same because we didn't change the filter yet. Raking light photography generally is done with visible light. Actually, you could do that also with UV, in the UV range or in the infrared. Generally, we just want to make it on a raking light using visible light. Okay, so we look at the exposure. Of course, since we now have just one lamp and the lamp is raking, the image will be darker than the previous one, the visible one, when we add two images. So if we look at the histogram, we see now the histogram is a little bit darker. So what we do now is we could increase a little bit the exposure. Let's say maybe we can do 1-2 steps more. So let's say 1 second. Okay, it's fine. The image has to be darker because it's a raking light image. Okay, everything sounds good, so we can actually take this image. There it is. Okay, the image is transferred from the camera into the laptop, and now we can go to actually edit this image. So remember, we use the other software is a raw therapy. Okay. It's loading. There it is. So now we have this second image. It's a good idea to immediately rename the image as soon as we shoot a new image. So we go back here in images, double click, and actually rename this image as RAK, Raking Light Photo. Then we go back in, let's close the live view over here. Okay, now we go into raw therapy, and the image will show up as raking. Okay, double click on the image to be edited. There it is. This image is like a visible image. What changes is just the position of the light. So basically, we apply the same editing we did for the for the visible light. So we go in processing profiles, my profile, VIS. So basically, with this operation, we are applying the camera profile for this specific camera. And then we magnify here. To magnify, just scroll the area, point with the mouse in the area that you want to magnify, and use the scrolling of the mouse. And then we use the white balance tool. We go on the first gray, second gray, we click over here, and you see now the image is much better with correct colors. The image is done, the editing, so at this point we can go here on the gears, so the image can be exported. So we just click one time, we see one over here, and basically here automatically now we selected auto start in 5 seconds exactly, so the image is transferred, it's ready, and we are going to see the image here in the temporary folder. So we see visible and Raking images. By the way, over here you see every time we create a new image, there is associated this file. So basically this one is like a metadata file created by raw therapy. So it's collecting all the info how this image the original raw was created to give this JPEG final image. Okay, pretty good. At this point, we continue this section with the other methods, UVF photography. UVF stands for UV fluorescence photography. So we need to use the fluorescence, the Fabrizio UV lamp. Okay, so we have the Fabrizio lamp. Over here we want to use a stand, a tripod as usual. So we take our tripod. It's easy to mount the Fabrizio lamp on the tripod. Okay, open up the tripod. Okay. And we want to screw this tripod on the Fabrizio lamp. Okay, there it is, and we can position the lamp maybe on the other side, so we're gonna see how it looks when it's on. Okay, so the lamp is over here. We start with the UV fluorescence. So, in this case, when we do UV fluorescence photography, the lamp can stay even directly in front of the lamp, of the painting. This is because when we do UV fluorescence photography, the fluorescence phenomenon means that the UV light is absorbed by the material on the painting and then is re-emitted. So we don't have glare, we don't have reflections in our image, because the visible filter is stopping the UV reflected radiation. Okay, so the lamp is on. Okay, it has a switch, so we have the lamp on and we can go directly to take our image. To take the UV photo we need the total darkness, so we turn off the the lamp. Actually, we also lower this curtain. There is a little bit of light from outside. Okay, so to have a good UVF photo, we should have as much darkness as possible, and also we want to avoid any object that emits UV radiation. So unfortunately right now in this setup there are some objects, so for example you see that plug, that cable, those have to be removed, no? Because they emit UV radiation on their own, so we want a total darkness absorbent material. In this case, I mean, we see the details, what we want to see. So we go in Digicam control, we go in live view. So this is the painting. We go minus. Okay, there it is. Regarding exposure, of course, when we do UVF photography, we are seeing much less radiation, because it's a dim emission that we want to document. So it makes sense to increase the exposure, and the idea is that at least I want to see the gray over here in my card, basically. So what we do, we can put it like 2 seconds. Also, we can look at the histogram. You see, in this case, the histogram is toward the left. And this is correct, because anyway the image is pretty dark, it has to be like that. So it's a dim, very little fluorescence that we have. Okay, exposure 2 seconds. We don't have to do any check of the focus, because remember we are using the same visible filter. So the idea is that in a UVF photography we want to take a photo as of what we see already with our naked eyes. Okay, there it is, ready to shoot, capture. It's a 2-second exposure. Stand still, and there it is. The image is transferred, so we can turn off our lamp. There it is. We turn on the halogen lamp, so we have some light in the environment. And at this point, we can proceed to do the editing. So, the image, we check that the image has been transferred into the images folder. There it is. So we want to rename it UVF. Okay. Then what we do is, again, we go in a raw therapy file browser. This is the image to edit. Double click. Okay, the image is already magnified as the last one we took, so for us it's pretty fine. So the editing, the first step is going here, as usual, and right now, of course, we choose UVF. We click over here, and now, in a few seconds, we see a much better image with the colors as basically we saw with our naked eye. So right now, what this processing profile does is to add the camera profile for our specific camera, so the same thing as for the visible, plus is adding a temperature and tint values to basically correct the camera. So these temperature and tint value basically are based on this kind of lamp of my Fabrizio UV lamp and the filters. An idea also, you see, when you take this image, is that here you see these materials in the calibration card. The first one is a shellac. A shellac turns orange under UV radiation. This madder lakes turns pinks at this intense color. This yellow, which over here is zinc white, And the black over here is a cadmium red, which absorbs the UV and doesn't have fluorescence itself. Okay, so basically these four over here, these four swatches, basically serves you as a controls. So you look at them and you see if your final editing shows them with this actual color. So shellac orange, Madder Lake pink, zinc white yellow, and cadmium red black. Okay, so the image is pretty nice, can be exported. So we go as usual on the gears, then we go on the Q, and here automatically the image is transformed. There it is, pretty nice. So the image now is also in a temp, so we have the UVF photo over here. We can double click. Okay. I didn't double click. Okay, there it is. Okay, there it is, our image, pretty nice. It's basically it looks as what I saw with my naked eye. Okay, so this is all for shooting and editing the UVF photo.